Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Garian Institute. I am Lauren Paiva, and I have the honor and privilege to present to you today what do boys need from us from Head Start, early Head Start. I get to work with children from the age of birth to 5, and I am the education director at Booker T. Washington Child Development Center in Phoenix, Arizona. For those of you that aren't familiar with Head Start, we serve lower income families. We have 368 families within our program, and we have a new program for early Head Start with 16 children. So there are two, and we are loving this new venture that we're going on with early Head Start. We've always been just a Head Start program servicing 3 to 5 year olds and families. So it's been a new adventure, and it's been great and fun. So I'm so excited to be here today to be able to talk to you about what do boys need from us in Head Start or from the ages of birth to 5. I think the world tells us one thing of what boys need, and then we believe a little bit different of what boys need. So here's a little bit about myself. Not only am I the education director, I am a mother and a wife. I have been at Booker T. Washington now for it will be 16 years in August, but I have two boys of my own. So I am a boy mom. I have Michael, who's in the blue. He is 13, almost 14, and I have Mason, who's actually younger. He's 12. He just turned 12 in December. And Mason is going to be featured in a lot of my presentation today because he actually was in our program. He was a Head Start student in one of our classrooms, and I'm going to get to be able to share some stories about Mason and stories about him today of how Head Start really impacted him, how it's changed him, how it's molded him. He is my strong-willed, athletic child, and as a boy mom, like they thrive on competition. So if I need the dishes done or something done around the house, I am going to make some sort of competition to get them to do it. So I'm excited to be able to share not only from the Head Start, but also being a boy mom, being in this role of being and doing this work and getting to find out what boys really need from us at a younger age. Our life has not always been great. My boys did experience some trauma when they were 2 and 4. Our family went through a traumatic experience. And I truly believe that with the skills that I have working at Booker T. Washington and all the things that I've learned, that they not that the trauma didn't affect them, but I was able to process things with them a little bit differently and, to make sure that they understood the feelings that they were feeling and how to work through the feelings that they were feeling. So I don't want my to think that my life's all peachy keen and it's been sunshine and rainbows all the time because it hasn't. And this work is so powerful to be able to see what it truly can do when you really learn about it. So I'm so excited to go on this journey with you guys today. So, what do boys need from us in Head Start? We're going to share a little bit today, like developmentally appropriate, cultural responsive, and trauma informed practices. So, in Head Start, we are trauma informed. Most of our families do come from backgrounds. Again, it's lower income, so our families have to meet below poverty level to apply for or to qualify for our program. It's a free program, it's full days, 4 days a week, 7 hours a day. And a lot of our children do experience things at 3, 4, and 5 that some of us as adults still haven't experienced, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's a parent that's incarcerated, whether it's, a parent that's living on the streets or struggling with addiction. We have a lot of families who are raised by grandmas and grandpas, so those kinds of things, they affect our children in so many different ways. So today we're going to really go through kind of some of those things, give you some things that maybe you haven't thought about how to work with children that do come from trauma, but really to focus on the aspect of the boys because the boys I think is again like I said in the beginning that our world has a view of how boys should be, how boys should act. They should be tough. They should boys don't cry, those kinds of things. If you have a feeling or you have an emotion, you stuff it down. So those are some of the things that we have learned working with Gurian, working with social emotional, that we've learned that boys need these things. So we're going to go through those today. So why this matters in Head Start. Many boys face higher rates of stress and adversity. And my belief is really again, what the standards tell us of how a boy should act, how a boy should be, how a male should be. Those things of the worldly view of how someone should act or things that they should do and not do. I think that's why our men and boys, they face these higher rates of stress and adversity. They're frequently suspended or disciplined. Head Start is, we do not suspend children. We do have children with severe behaviors in our program. And our biggest philosophy is we work with them. We try to help them, try to, get them to regulate their emotions, to work through those things, to problem solve, but we do not suspend. Our program is in 17, we have 17 different sites. We have 25 different locations, 25 classrooms, I'm sorry, in 17 different locations. And we're in about 15 of those in elementary schools throughout the Wilson, Murphy, Phoenix, and Roosevelt School District. And I can tell you that when I go to visit schools, elementary schools, and certain schools, there is, the principal's office is in the front office or right when you walk into the front. And there's always boys there, always boys there. So I always, when I get to meet with families, if there's a behavior concern or something that's going on, I like to really focus on that part of, you know, we want to make sure that your child is ready so they're not spending their time in the principal's office or in the office. They're missing out on that learning experience and their socialization and learning to problem solve. So that's our biggest focus, is to make sure that we can give that to the boys that we work with, but also the families that we work with. We focus on the whole child development and equity. So we're going to talk a little bit about the families, how it's a whole approach of what we do. So it's Head Start's the whole child approach. Not only is it the whole child approach, it's kind of the whole family approach. We look at things at a lens of helping everyone. It's like a one-stop shop when you come to Head Start, that we're able to help. There's different ones of us in different positions that are able to help families. So, social emotional, the foundation. I cannot stress how much the foundation is so key. It's so key to everything that we do. Our mental health and our individualized supports, they're trauma informed. We individualize needs through things that we see day to day with children. We take observations and assessments on children. We help if children are developmentally delayed or socially delayed. We look at the whole picture. We look at the home. If there's home structures that are, lacking, we try to work with families how to better that. And it's looking and respecting also the family too. So I think that's what we, with Head Start and preschool, is the huge difference, is that we look at the huge piece of it, but our biggest thing is social emotional. Foundation, if there's not anything that you take away, the one thing that I want you to take away from this today is how important the foundation of social emotional and a relationship is. There is a study that it was done, and when we talk about trauma, that the one thing that can heal trauma is a consistent, loving relationship. It's not, doing something or reading a book or this and that. It's a consistent relationship that a child or individual has, that over time, with love and support, it can heal that trauma inside of them. And I'm a firm believer of that. I think, personal life and things like that I've seen, it is so true what consistency and the foundation of a relationship does. So there are foundations. So warm, consistent teacher and child relationships. We have predictable routines, and we have culturally responsive interaction. So here is my little guy, Mason. Mason was 4 when he enrolled with Head Start, and this is Teacher Amy. Teacher Amy has been at the program for as long as I have been, and she is now one of my instructional coaches. So I have 2 pictures here of Mason. So I have obviously Mason in the top with the blue shirt doing the little peace sign. That's him in Head Start. And then here is about 4 years ago. Mason will come on breaks or just to visit Teacher Amy. Teacher Amy is Mason will tell you it's his favorite teacher. Teacher Amy does every year at the end of her class, she gives children like a special gift. And Mason, again, like I told you, he just turned 12 in December. So he's been out of Head Start for quite some time. He's going into the 7th grade, and he still has what Teacher Amy gave him. So she made such a huge impact on him. um, I can't tell you the skills that he learned because remember I said that he's my strong-willed child. His self-regulation, able to work through his emotions. I think every child still has those issues, but he really struggled with that, and he needed that. So Amy and her assistant at the time was Isabel. They really were able to push that and find that in Mason. And he will never forget Teacher Amy. And, if Teacher Amy doesn't work at Booker T anymore, he's still going to keep in contact with her. Those relationships they're huge. So that's what we really talk about with all of our teachers is to create those consistent relationships because kids need the routines, especially when if you are coming from trauma, boys especially, they need routine. I watch my boys today, and my husband and I are pretty strict with them when it comes to social media or things that they do, game wise. Um, it's a fine line as a parent too, because it's like they're going, I have one going into high school, one going into junior high, and the way of the world, everyone has social media. And so my kids know our routines. They know what is expected, and they may hate it with a passion, but they need it and they actually love it deep down. So they thrive at that. They need those routines. They need the consistency. They need to know what's next because I think the anxiety and the stress that it can cause. So that's why in our classrooms, we have schedules. There is a schedule every single day. Teachers are to follow the schedule. Do the schedules change? Absolutely. They're 3 and 4 year old children. So they do change. And that's okay. But if they're trying something and trying to get something to work, those are the kinds of things. But kids will feel that. So I always love when I get to go in and do an observation and a teacher will change something up or do something different. And the kid right away is like, teacher, why are we doing this? We don't ever do this. So they rat you out. They tell you what you're supposed to be doing because they thrive on the consistency. A good example today, we had a family come into our office, a mother that recently got her children back from DCS custody, and she was actually at the wrong school. And so she didn't get a lot of information from whoever was giving her case manager. And her child kept saying, Mom, this is not my school. This is not where I go. This is not where Miss K is. So we think that, yeah, oh, they're just 3 and 4. They won't know. They need consistency. They know what needs to happen next. If we're consistent with them, they will thrive. They will thrive, and they need that. So we support emotional regulation in the classroom. We teach children feeling words. We teach them mad, if they're sad, if they're angry, frustrated, happy, excited. We teach them those things. We teach them these things by using our what's called our safe place. We have, areas where children can go to calm down, where teachers are able to teach that self-regulation. We have visuals. You see on this page here, I have what's called a wish you well board. And teaching, teaching kids all of these skills, our Wish You Well board kind of teaches them, the regulation of wishing others well. If a child is absent, they kind of go on this Wish You Well board. And those are the kinds of things, like, to some of the skills and structures that we have in place at Booker T is, to really to show children these kinds of things. And it's also to talk about, like, where do you think Mason's at today? Do you think Mason's okay? What could we do? So we're teaching them those empathy skills as well. And again, teaching boys that they belong, teaching the boys in our classroom that they belong and they are a part of something supports their emotional regulation to a whole different level that sometimes we don't see. If a child comes into a classroom and let's say they've come from a chaotic night, right? They they are experiencing something traumatic that's going on at home and they come into a classroom where they feel seen, where they feel safe, where they feel heard. You're going to have a whole different child. um, they may come in angry, and to tell them it's okay to be angry, to tell them, it's okay to be sad, to show them when they're sad what they can do, to show them when they're mad what they can do, to show them when they're happy what they can do. Because children, if we believe at Booker T with social emotional training that we've been through, that every behavior is a form of communication. So whatever behavior comes into that classroom for the day, it's that child communicating something, a skill that hasn't been taught yet. So our job is to teach them that skill. So I want to show you kind of a video here. Let's see if I can get it. This is a video so Mason was absent, and this is when he was in teacher Amy's classroom. And Mason was a happy child, so he came in, but just to show what he had a sense of belonging and how he felt when he returned. So this is him. God, you've been missed. Where we like your butterfly kiss.
Send it. And we said,
Welcome back. So she says in there, you've been gone, you've been missed. Where would you like your butterfly kiss? And that, seeing his face and seeing any child's face, like when they light up, like what that does to them inside is so powerful. And you're going to see a shift in behavior and mindset in that child once you create that supportive relationship, that calming space. To teach them these things, you'll see a different child. So this is just some examples of, so these are what we call our safe places, and this is two different classrooms. So we have, so on my left, we have one of the classrooms that has kind of the faces on the wall with what's called the feelings buddies that we use to try to teach children how they feel. If kids don't know how they feel, we can tell them to point or to show us how they feel. Some of the things that we'll have in there is, stuffed animals, or we have lotion. We call our lotion our cranky cream. And to get, we call it to get the crankies out of how kids feel. But the one thing that we have to remember is when we're doing, they seem kind of silly, like, oh, we're just putting lotion on the child. No, we're not just putting lotion on the child and singing a song. We're connecting. And I'm looking into that child's face. I'm telling that child that he's loved, that he's needed here, that we love him. We need him to come to class because maybe he's our helper, or, something that he does special in the classroom. It's a time for the teacher to really connect with the child. So, they'll say, like, goodbye, crankies, goodbye, crankies, goodbye, crankies, we'll see you soon. And we get our crankies out the way. But again, it's about the connection, about how if a child doesn't know how to connect, it takes time. It takes a lot of time because you have to really build that within them and show them that you're their safe place, that you're safe for them, that you are there to help them and to guide them. You see this, the feelings buddies there, and it says, angry, scared, sad, happy. Children can, they can pick up those dolls and kind of talk about how they're feeling, like I'm feeling mad. And a lot of times, again, what we do to connect is to really show them, oh, your face, you're going like this, your eyebrows are going like this, you seem mad. And then to walk them through, it's okay to be mad, but when we're mad, we can't hit our friends. Or when we're mad, we can't break our toys. Because when we break our toys, we don't have toys to play with. So we believe in like the natural consequences of things, of not pulling toys or you can't play with this. These are the things that we believe in. But again, when you listen to all of this and see all of this thing, it all goes back to a relationship. It all goes back to helping the child self-regulate. I can't send a child to the safe place and tell them to walk through the process. Eventually, yes, a child should be able to go over there and walk through of how they feel, take a deep breath and relax. But it takes time. It takes time for a kiddo to know those skills and to do that. Daily movement is a need. It is not a reward. We see a lot of times in schools, again, I shared, elementary schools that I visit that um children recess is taken away from boys if they're misbehaving. That is the total opposite of what we should be doing. They need movement. They need to move. Their bodies were created to move, so they need to move, especially our boys. Our girls, yes, they need to move as well, but our boys need to move. So it's not something that we should take away, that we should say, okay, you miss your recess or this and that. Like my boys sometimes will tell me, and my boys are in public school, and they go to a great public school, and there's times where if they're absent or something, they'll have to stay in for recess. And those things happen. We understand that those things happen, but to have to pull it, they need to move. I think sometimes if we realize, if we let them move, that the behaviors were going to lessen. So we do these things by gross motor activities, outdoor play. Kids learn through play, and that's a big thing with Head Start, is that there's a lot of playing in our classrooms. They play outside, and sometimes parents will say, well, what do they do? They're just playing all day. No, they're learning through play. Hands-on experiences and music and movement. That is a time too in the classroom where they need to be going and getting up and dancing and singing. So our classrooms have all of these things embedded into their schedule. And this is the times that our teachers, they take these times to get kids moving. And because when our kids sit for too long, especially our boys, like our circle times will be a time where they will the boys will start rolling around in the circle time, and that's when teachers are like, I'm like, it's time to cut the circle. It's too long for them to sit. Our kids should really only at this age, 3 to 5, they should only really be sitting for no longer than 5 to 7 minutes in a large group. And then, learning through play, hands-on activities, give them stuff to learn. Everybody has a different learning style, and we have to understand that we have to cater to those things. And I think majority of people too, they learn through hands-on. They learn by doing. So these next couple slides are just, so we have one classroom that is playing outside with balls. We really suggest kids to get out there, to get their hands dirty, get moving, running, jumping, the playground. And then this other classroom too, this is a old picture when COVID was here with kids with masks. Even inside, when it's a rainy day schedule, move things around and do things, inside. We do a lot of obstacle courses. We just had one teacher that set up an obstacle course. They need to move. So our boys have to move. It will, it's going to lessen energy in the classroom, behavior. We can have some children that cannot sit. They can't sit. And that's okay because we don't want them to sit for too long, But I will tell you, and what I tell teachers all the time too is, they'll say, "Oh, Lauren, this child will not sit. They're not sitting during large group. They're not sitting during small group." But sometimes what teachers don't understand is because we're so focused on what they're not doing, is what they are doing, is that they're listening. You'll hear them if they're at large group, they'll hear them singing, and all of a sudden they're over in the art area doing something, and they're singing the song that the teacher's singing. So it's like I promise you that they are listening, but some of the kids they cannot sit. So they cannot sit for a long period of time. So it's way to adapt those things, and sometimes our boys do have more of a struggle. So we've got to give them things. We call it kind of like big body movement, where boys with like when they get like aggressive with each other is to kind of let them figure that out. We've learned through going through learning through the Geary Institute is that, that's how boys bond, is they're physical, is messing around and fighting and pretending this and that. So it's not always, someone's being aggressive or someone's being violent. It's really how they are interacting and how they're bonding. So we have to keep in mind for that. And I think that's a really hard thing sometimes for educators to understand is, the second somebody goes over, hits somebody, it's like, oh my gosh, they're being aggressive. But that's how they bond. So that's really changed a mindset shift in our staff. Um, Here we just have, so we do with our curriculum, we do what's called studies, and studies are very different than themes. Studies are something that's tangible that children can see, touch, and feel. So, at Head Start and here in Phoenix, Arizona, we wouldn't study whales or we wouldn't study ocean animals because we don't have those here and we can't see them. And so here is like a building study to keep kids, moving through this activity the kids are building. And you can see, like just looking at this picture, the engagement by, you see the one little boy over here, he's kind of moving a little bit, but just the engagement by just what they're doing by building boxes. So they're learning, but they're also moving, being able to move and to try new things. So I think here in this picture, they were taking turns and they were seeing who could build the excuse me, build the highest tower. So, talking about even like that's a math skills of measurement, because then I think once they were done, they measured it to see how high it was. There's so many different things of what we could do in the classroom that we just have to be mindful of. It is learning. They're learning through play. And so hands-on activities are huge for kids. Positive behavior and guidance. So in Head Start, we believe that redirection is how we show our, I should say, discipline. We teach expectations. We're clear and consistent. We have to teach the unlearned skill, and we focus on that skill and building it. I talked a little bit about that in the beginning of it, is that we believe that all behavior is a form of communication. So if a child comes in angry and we say, Mason, why are you angry? And he says, because my mom didn't let me play with the tablet this morning. And so we know that Mason struggles with, being told no or, not getting what he wants. So we have to teach him that, it's hard when we don't get what we want. But you know what we can do? Maybe when mom takes the tablet away at home, we can draw a picture. Teach them the skill of whatever it is that we're lacking. I think too for, even for adults, it's a huge thing as well. So and to reflect on it. Also, to really look at kind of what, when you're dealing with a behavior situation in a classroom, to reflect on things, to shift your mindset. And how can I teach that child a different way? So our biggest thing is like, no, don't do that. We don't want to. If a child is climbing up on the table, it's not to say, no, Johnny, don't do that. Do you know what Johnny's hearing? He's hearing do that. Johnny, don't hit. Johnny's hearing hit. So developmentally, we have to teach the skill to the child. Johnny, if you want teacher Lauren to help you, all you have to do is tap on her and say, help, please. Because if Johnny's hitting me and that's how he's trying to get my attention, that's how I'm going to redirect his behavior is to say, "Oh, Johnny, it looks like you wanted her attention. All you have to do is say tap tap tap. Can you help me, please?" So we have to really look at the skill that's lacking and to really help the children. Boys tend to have a hard time with this, with the skill of the self-regulation, and we have to be so clear and consistent with them. I think that's a hard part in Head Start that teachers have the expectation of, oh, they'll say, like, "Oh, Lauren, I tried that and it didn't work." No, we have to continue to try it. It's just like us as adults when we are trying to do a routine, the gym, let's say. It takes, they say what it takes 21 days to create a new routine or a new habit. It takes children at least 3,000 times to hear the same thing to be consistent for them to get it. Does that happen with every child? No. Some children get it right away, the first time, the fifth time, the 10th time. Every child is different. But if you have a child that's coming from trauma or a child that is, really struggling, it could take literally 2,099 times. So it really takes the consistency and to be clear. If you want that, Johnny, this is what you can do instead. Not just, no, we're not doing that. So I want to show you a video here of, again, this is teacher Amy when she was in the classroom, and this classroom was struggling with, oh, this is a big one. This was, they were struggling with losing. So again, competition is a really good thing to have with children's healthy competition. I'm a firm believer. It can be a great thing, but when you're 3 and 4 and 5, you don't want to lose. Sometimes my boys still don't want to lose as teenagers. So this is a conversation and walking them through the skill of, instead of what we did before, what can we do next time? So this is her talking. So they had just gotten done with a game and somebody lost and they got very upset. So let's see.
Lose and we're sad. What should we do? Let's practice by doing the star. Let's. Oh, and she remembered the most important thing. Maybe next. Tell yourself that. Maybe next time. And let's do the star so we can practice. Stop. Smile. Take a deep breath. And we lose. And
So again, talking about the losing skill, like she's teaching them, you know, not everybody's gonna win. Not everybody's gonna get the trophy. So instead of next time, maybe next time we will win or be the winner. But instead of crying, this is what we can do. We can be a star. We can stop. We can take a deep breath and relax, or we can smile, take a deep breath and relax. So we teach our children the breathing skills of self-regulation. And as adults, too, we have to remember it takes 3 breaths for us to actually our brain to settle. So we teach our children 3 deep breaths and from our belly. And that's how we kind of teach that skill for them to calm down, to walk through the process of how they're feeling. But when they feel upset, that they can take a deep breath and relax. And so that's a good example of, a skill that, it can be individual. It can be just for a group of boys. It can just be just for a group of girls. But it is something that everybody needs, and that classroom needed that whole skill set taught to them in like a large group setting. Another way too that we can teach is showing them that they are part of something. So when we make classroom rules, we let children be a part of it. It's not about just saying walking feet or raise your hand. We want children to be a part of it. So these ones are, I can be kind, I can help, I can listen, I can share, and I can do my best. So if children are a part of it and they help create it, you're going to have more buy-in. So that's a big piece of what we believe in. So giving children those those skills to be able to create what they feel like they can do in the classroom. So this was a little friend years ago, and he had a lot of behavior concerns, and the teacher made him the school family greeter. So what he did every single day is that he stood outside, or he was in the classroom wherever he met his friends, and he greeted them, and he asked them how they wanted to be greeted. Sometimes could be a high five, it could be a handshake, it could be a hug, it could just be a wave. So kids get to pick how they want to be greeted. And sometimes too, when kids come in, if they've had a rough morning or a rough night and they're grouchy, you see the connection, the piece of it. But when we gave him this job, it totally shifted his behavior and his attitude in the classroom because he felt a part of something. He became a part of something. He was the greeter. So it was so important for him to A, be there, but to B, do his job. Now, I want to make one thing very clear. Just because we do these jobs and we give these jobs, it doesn't mean that the behaviors are going to go away. So these are just strategies and tools that we've used that we've seen along the way that have helped. Ways to be helpful. So, we can talk about being kind in the classroom. How can we be helpful? And I can tell you that our 3-year-olds can do this and our 4-year-olds can do this. Once they get the routine, the consistent relationship together, you will see the shift of things flowing in your classroom. Um, and children are able to be a part of it and to give ideas of what they can do in the classroom to make it a better place. Language rich environments. We want every classroom to have a language rich environment. So you have some examples here talking about, our studies or things that kids can do. We want kids to know that their thoughts and their words have meaning. So, intentional conversations, we read to them every single day and we support dual language learners. So, our intentional conversations can be anything from, at breakfast table was, how was your night? Or what did you do? What did you have for dinner? Relating things back to home to, have children talk about things that they may be going through, to read to children, to be able to read to children every single day. We find it's important that they're read to so that way that they know that words have meaning. And to support our dual language learners. So in our classrooms, we try to always have a monolingual Spanish speaker, not a monolingual, a person that just primarily speaks English, and then a dual language. So someone that is bilingual. Our classrooms are completely labeled where every toy has a spot and it's labeled also in English and Spanish. And I say English and Spanish because those are primarily our languages. We have many children this year that have different languages, and we do our best to accommodate them as well. Farsi has been a big language, and so we have teachers that have even learned little commands here and there to help those children in the classroom feel safe and welcome. It's so important to the connection that they feel when you speak their home language, but also to teach them a new language. So we like to have, language rich environments where we show them again that words have meaning, that what they say. So what could this be? We put up a picture of it and we wrote, Jordan said it's a stick. Jesus said it's a rock. Eric and Jose said, they said Coke and a cardboard. So it's so interesting what kids can say and then to go back and to reflect on this with them. Again, this gives them power that they're a part of the classroom and they're a part of something. We individualize for every single child. Every week, our teachers individualize for our kiddos. We use this with the data that we have. We try to avoid stereotypes as boys. And again, we have learned so much with the Gurian Institute about um, I think teachers, when we really went through the institute in the beginning, that some of us didn't realize that we had stereotypes about boys, about our own beliefs as well. Because when we talk about families, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that as well, about how we were raised as adults and how we believe that boys should be or how girls should be. But a lot of times, we need to avoid those stereotypes of that boys are wild, boys get in more trouble, boys don't listen. Those kinds of things, we need to be mindful of those because those can come out into the classroom. And again, I always tell teachers, you're making your job harder if we're not realizing these things. So it's very important to be intentional, to reflect on that, to have how you are feeling. Use data to support your goals. To collaborate with others, if a child is on an IEP or other teachers that the child is working with, collaborate with them. Partnering with families. This is a huge passion. This is kind of where I love everything in this area here because it not only gets to work with the child, it gets to work with the family. So we at Head Start, we respect family strengths and their cultures. We share strengths used in the classroom, and we encourage consistency between home and school. Um, Involving our families is what we are about. We want our kiddos to see families. We want the consistency of families. Not everyone has the same family. So, we want families to be involved the best way that they can be, and we want to try to help them and partner with them. When it comes to our boys in the classroom and behaviors, that's where you start to see kind of like how a father was raised or what a mother believes in. And I can speak from experience with this is, again, I'm a mother of two boys, and my husband was raised very differently. I was raised by a single mom. My father passed away when I was 9. And so we were raised very different. My husband was raised and primarily by a single mom. They were divorced, and so he kind of was back and forth. But it was very much instilled in him that boys don't cry, boys' feelings push down, boys need to get up, they need to be men. And it came out in kind of raising our boys a little bit. And so I've been doing this work for some time, and he has gotten so much better. He has gotten so much better with working with our sons, with things that they go through, and being a little bit more calmer and understanding. And so when I get to work with families, I get to kind of get to know how they were raised and what they believe, how they want things to how they want to raise their children. We do kind of a parenting class, and we talk a little bit about how we have to be self-regulated to be able to regulate the child, and that's a big one too as well. But whatever parents believe, we respect that. We are able to give them our input and try to help and guide them through these things if they're having behavior concerns at home. But we try to help and guide them, but ultimately it's their decision, and we respect what they choose. Um, we want families to bring their strengths into classrooms because not only does it helps teachers and it helps other students as well. It again gives that children such a passion when they see mom or dad coming into the classroom to share something. And then just to encourage consistency between home and school. If a teacher and a family is on the same page, you're going to see such a huge difference in the child, and it's so powerful. Um, we send homework out that, and our homework isn't like worksheets. Our homework is things that children and families do together, whether it's going on a rock hunt or a tree look. Those are the kinds of things that we promote. Not only do we promote, we want families to show in the classroom. So every classroom has what's called a friends and family board. And that board is pictures of their families. And in the beginning, it's so crucial that kids have this because they miss their families. This is sometimes their first time away from families, and they truly, truly miss them. So that if they see mom or dad on the wall, it's super powerful for them, and it helps calm them down. Certain children have a harder time. We make books for them that show, that mom and dad are there and they're going to come back. We also invite them into the classroom. We celebrate the end of studies. So, these are families that are engaging in an activity with a classroom that was buildings, and it's so powerful to see again one of our little ones there that he built that building, and then he was able to show mom and dad what he was building. Um, so again, our showing them that their words have meaning, but parents are a crucial, crucial piece to Head Start, and we want them in the classroom and to share their expertise as well. So, in review, just kind of some things that we've talked about. The biggest thing for us is relationships, is building the relationships, getting that foundation down. That's the biggest piece. Consistency. You have to be consistent with this. Our kiddos need the consistency. Love and respect, to be able to love our children every single day and respect our families. We're not going to always agree with everything that comes through the door or said to us, but to have respect always. Mental health, know that mental health is real with our families, with our boys, and to support that, to partner with families for whatever someone is going through, and to support boys where they are. I think that's huge. Is sometimes is that we have to know that we have to support children in general, but boys where they're at. If this is where they need to be, that's where we're going to start, and we're going to build on that. So I just want to say thank you all for joining this session. I hope that there was something that you learned from it or that you took away from it. I've left my email here. I would love for you to send questions or anything like that. I thank you so, so much, and I wish you all well. Thank you.